Have you ever sacrificed everything for someone you love, only to discover they never wanted your sacrifice in the first place? What would you do if the person you fought to come home to told you that you shouldn't have bothered? And what if that moment of rejection revealed a truth so devastating that it changed everything you thought you knew about your life? My name is Marcus, and I'm about to tell you the story of the night I came home from my third deployment in Afghanistan. The night my wife looked me in the eyes, surrounded by all our friends and family, and said the 5 words that shattered my world. I had been planning this surprise for 3 months. My deployment was supposed to last another 6 weeks, but our unit got early clearance due to mission completion ahead of schedule. The moment I knew I was coming home, I contacted my brother Jake to help me orchestrate the perfect homecoming surprise. Sarah thought I wouldn't be back until December. It was only October 15th, and I could already picture her face when she saw me walk through the door. We had been married for 4 years, together for 7, and this was my longest deployment yet. The plan was simple. Jake would invite Sarah to what she thought was just a casual dinner party at his house. All our closest friends would be there, the same group that had thrown us our going-away party 8 months earlier. I would be hiding in the back room, waiting for the perfect moment to emerge. During my flight from Germany to Chicago, then from Chicago to Denver, I kept replaying our last video call from 2 weeks ago. Sarah had seemed distant, distracted. When I asked if everything was okay, she just said she was tired from work and missed me. I attributed it to the strain of long-distance relationships and military life. Looking back now, I realized that distance in her voice should have been my first warning sign. Jake picked me up from the airport at 6 p.m. His excitement was infectious as we drove to his house in suburban Denver. He kept saying how happy Sarah would be, how she had been going through a tough time lately, and how my surprise return would fix everything. When we arrived, I could hear laughter and music coming from inside. Through the window, I saw familiar faces. Our college friends, Mike and Jennifer, Sarah's coworker Lisa, and several others from our tight-knit group. And there was Sarah, wearing the blue dress I had bought her for her birthday, looking as beautiful as ever. But something was different about her. Even from outside, I could see she was laughing, but it wasn't the same laugh I remembered. This laugh was brighter, more carefree than I had seen her in years. She looked ... happy. Genuinely happy in a way that made my stomach twist with an emotion I couldn't quite identify. Jake gave me the signal. I positioned myself by the back door, took a deep breath, and prepared to surprise the woman I had spent 8 months dreaming about coming home to. I walked through that door with the biggest smile on my face, expecting to see joy, tears of happiness, maybe even her running into my arms like in the movies. "Surprise!" called out, stepping into the living room where everyone was gathered. The room fell silent. Not the good kind of surprise silence, the heavy, suffocating kind that feels like all the oxygen has been sucked out of the air. Every conversation stopped mid-sentence. Mike's beer bottle froze halfway to his lips. Jennifer's hand covered her mouth in shock. But it wasn't their reactions that destroyed me. It was Sarah's. She didn't run to me. She didn't cry with joy. She didn't even smile. Instead, she went completely white, like she had seen a ghost. Her wine glass slipped from her hand and shattered on Jake's hardwood floor, red wine spreading like blood across the room. "Marcus," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I'm home, baby," I said, still trying to maintain the joy of the moment, still believing this was just initial shock. That's when she said it. In front of everyone we knew, in front of our closest friends, Sarah looked directly at me and spoke the words that would haunt me forever. "You shouldn't have come back." The room froze. Literally froze. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Even the music seemed to stop, though I think that was just my mind shutting down. I stood there in my dress uniform, medals and ribbons on my chest, feeling smaller than I had ever felt in my entire life. "What?" I managed to whisper. Sarah's face crumpled and she started crying. Not tears of joy, but tears of what looked like pure anguish. "I'm sorry, Marcus. I'm so sorry. You weren't supposed to. I thought I had more time. ... Jake stepped forward, confusion written all over his face. "Sarah, what's going on?" That's when I noticed him. A man I didn't recognize, sitting on the couch where I used to sit when we came to Jake's house. He was tall, probably my age, with kind eyes and an uncomfortable expression. He had been sitting close to Sarah. Too close. "Who is that?" I asked, my voice stronger now, military training kicking in. Even as my personal world collapsed, Sarah couldn't speak. She just stood there, tears streaming down her face, looking between me and the stranger like she was trapped in some nightmare. The stranger stood up. "I'm David," he said quietly. I think I should go." "No," I said, my voice now carrying the authority I used with my soldiers. "Nobody goes anywhere until someone explains what's happening here." Jake looked like he was about to be sick. "Sarah, please tell me this isn't what it looks like." Sarah finally found her voice, though it came out broken and barely above a whisper. "Marcus, I never meant for this to happen. I tried so hard to wait for you. I tried so hard to be the perfect military wife. But what?" I demanded. "I fell in love with someone else." The words hit me like an IED explosion. Everything went white for a moment, then deadly quiet. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears, could feel the blood rushing through my head. "How long?" I asked. Sarah glanced at David, then back at me. 6 months. 6 months. While I was dodging bullets and IEDs in Afghanistan, thinking about her every single day, writing her letters, video calling her whenever I could get signal, she was falling in love with someone else. "I tried to tell you," she continued. "That's why I seemed distant on our calls. I was trying to find the courage to tell you, but how do you tell someone who's serving their country, who's risking their life every day, that you don't love them anymore?" Mike finally spoke up.
"Sarah.
"Jesus Christ, this isn't how you handle this." "I know," she shouted, the first real emotion besides tears she had shown. "I know, okay? I've been dying inside for months. Do you think this is easy? Do you think I wanted to fall out of love with my husband while he was deployed?" David, who had been quietly standing by the couch, finally spoke. "Sarah, maybe I should explain." "Explain what?" I turned to face him, every muscle in my body tense. I'm not just some guy she met at a bar," he said carefully. "I'm her grief counselor." The room somehow got even quieter. Sarah's crying intensified. "Marcus, there's something else. Something I should have told you months ago." My mind raced through possibilities, each one worse than the last. "What? Your mom?" she whispered. "Marcus, your mom died 4 months ago." The world tilted. Everything I thought I knew about reality shifted completely. That's impossible. I talked to my mom 3 weeks ago. Jake's face went white. "Marcus, no, you didn't." "Yes, I did. She called me on the satellite phone. We talked about her garden, about the neighbor's new dog, ... Sarah looked at Jake, then back at me. "Marcus, that was me. I've been pretending to be your mom on the calls." Everything started making sense in the most horrible way possible. The slight delay in her voice during those calls. The way my mom seemed to know details about Sarah's life that I had mentioned in previous calls. The fact that she never wanted to video chat anymore, always saying the connection was too poor. "She died of a heart attack in her sleep," Sarah continued. "Jake and I decided not to tell you because you were in an active combat zone. The military agreed it was best to wait until you came home." I looked at Jake, my brother, who had tears in his eyes. "We thought it would be easier if you heard it at home, where we could support you." "And David?" I asked, though I was starting to understand. "I started seeing him because I was having a breakdown," Sarah said. "Lying to you about your mother, dealing with the guilt, missing you, and then?" And then somewhere along the way, I realized I had been pretending to be happy in our marriage for a long time. David stepped forward again. I need to be clear about something. I never pursued Sarah. She came to me for professional help, and over months of sessions, we both realized we had developed feelings. I actually referred her to another counselor because of the ethical implications. But it was too late, Sarah whispered. We had already fallen in love. I sat down heavily in the nearest chair, trying to process everything. My mother was dead. My wife was in love with someone else. Everyone in this room had been lying to me for months. The phone calls? I said quietly. All those times you pretended to be my mom. What did you talk about? Sarah sat down across from me, no longer hiding her tears. You told me, about the kids you met in the villages, about the schools you helped build, about how proud she would be of the man you had become. A sob escaped my throat before I could stop it. And what did she tell me? That she loved you, that she was proud of you, that she couldn't wait for you to come home. Sarah's voice broke. Marcus, everything I said as your mom, it was all true. She did love you. She was proud of you. Those were her last words to me when I visited her in the hospital. She made me promise to tell you how proud she was. The irony was devastating. While pretending to be my dead mother, Sarah had been more loving, more supportive, more like the wife I remembered than she had been in months of our actual conversations. Jennifer, who had been silent throughout this entire revelation, suddenly spoke up. Sarah, show him the letters. Everyone turned to look at her. What letters? I asked. Sarah's face went even whiter, if that was possible. Jennifer, don't. No, he deserves to know everything, Jennifer said firmly. Sarah, show him your mom's letters. My mom? I was confused. My mom never wrote letters to Sarah. Not your mom, Jennifer said. Sarah's mom. Sarah stood up abruptly. We don't need to get into this now. Yes, we do, David said quietly. Sarah, if we're going to build something real together, everything needs to be out in the open. Sarah disappeared into Jake's bedroom and came back with a shoebox. Inside were dozens of letters, all in the same handwriting. These are from my mom, she said. She's been writing to me every week since you deployed. I was confused. Okay, so your mom writes you letters. What does that have to do with anything? Sarah pulled out the most recent letter. This is what she wrote 3 weeks ago. She handed it to me, and I read aloud. Sarah, honey, I know you think you love this David, but you need to ask yourself, are you running to him or running away from the pain of missing Marcus? I looked up at Sarah. Your mom knows about David. She's known for months. Ken Marcus, she's been telling me to wait for you. Every single letter she tells me that what I'm feeling is grief and loneliness, not real love. I kept reading the letter. You fell in love with Marcus when you were both kids. That love doesn't just disappear because life gets hard. And David? Honey, you didn't fall in love with David. You fell in love with someone who is helping you through the hardest time of your life. That's not the same thing. Sarah was crying again. She's been begging me to wait for you to come home, to tell you about your mom in person, to give us a chance to grieve together and rebuild. David, who had been listening to all of this, sat down heavily. She's right, isn't she? Sarah looked at him, then at me. I don't know anymore. I've been so confused, so guilty, so lost. I stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the neighborhood where I had planned to build a life with Sarah. Everything looked the same, but everything had changed. Sarah, I said, without turning around. When you pretended to be my mom on those calls, how did it make you feel? What do you mean? I mean, when you heard how much I loved talking to her, when you heard me tell her about my day, about my dreams, about how much I missed home, how did that make you feel? There was a long pause. Like I remembered why I fell in love with you. I turned around to face the room full of our friends and family. Everyone was watching us like we were a movie, but this was our real life and we had to make real decisions. David, I said, You seem like a good man." He nodded, uncertainly. "And you genuinely care about my wife?" "I do." "Then you'll understand why I need to ask you to leave, so Sarah and I can talk alone." David looked at Sarah, who nodded slightly. "I understand," he said. He walked to the door, then turned back. "Sarah, whatever you decide, I want you to be happy. Really happy. Not just getting by, not just avoiding pain, but genuinely happy." After he left, I asked everyone else to give us some space. Jake squeezed my shoulder as he walked by. "I'm sorry, brother. About Mom, about all of this." When we were finally alone, Sarah and I sat in silence for what felt like hours. "I loved hearing your voice," she finally said. "When I pretended to be your mom, I remembered how much I loved listening to you talk about things you cared about. And when you were Sarah talking to me as my wife, she was quiet for a long moment. I felt like I was performing, like I was trying to be someone I wasn't anymore. Sarah, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest." She nodded. "If my mom hadn't died, if you hadn't started seeing a counselor, if none of this had happened, would you still be unhappy in our marriage?" She started to cry again, but this time it looked like relief. "Yes, Marcus, I think I've been unhappy for a long time, but I didn't know how to tell you. Military wives are supposed to be strong, supposed to hold everything together, and I felt like such a failure. And now, I don't know. I don't know if I love David or if I just love how he made me feel like myself again. I don't know if I fell out of love with you or if I just got lost in trying to be the perfect military wife." I sat down next to her on the couch. "What do you want to do?" "I want to grieve your mom with you. I want to figure out who we are now after everything we've been through. And I want to do it honestly, without pretending to be people we're not. And David." She was quiet for a long time. "I need to figure out if what I feel for him is real or if it was just him helping me find myself again." "Okay," I said. She looked surprised. "Okay, Sarah, I've spent 8 months in a war zone. Learned that life is too short and too precious to live it pretending. If we're going to make this work, we both need to be completely honest about who we are and what we want. It's been 6 months since that night at Jake's house. Sarah and I spent 2 months in counseling together, talking about everything. My mom's death, our marriage, our individual dreams and fears. We grieved together. We fought. We remembered why we fell in love, and we also acknowledged how much we had both changed. In the end, we decided to separate. Not out of anger or resentment, but out of love. We realized that we had gotten married when we were kids, and we had both grown into different people than we were at 21. Sarah is still seeing David, but they took things very slowly. She says she needed to make sure she was choosing him, not just running away from difficult emotions. As for me, I left the military and started working with a nonprofit that builds schools in underserved communities. It turns out those stories I told my mom, or Sarah pretending to be my mom, about the kids in Afghanistan inspired me to find my real calling. I still miss my mom every day, but I'm grateful that Sarah loved me enough to let me talk to her, even when it meant pretending to be someone else. Sometimes love means letting go. Sometimes it means fighting. And sometimes it means pretending to be someone's dead mother on a satellite phone because you can't bear to break their heart while they're in a war zone. The room may have frozen that night when Sarah said I shouldn't have come back. But what happened next taught all of us that sometimes the most devastating moments can also be the most liberating. If you were moved by Marcus's story and want to hear more incredible true tales of love, loss, and life-changing moments, make sure to subscribe to top_life_stories. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell because you won't want to miss the next powerful story we share. These are real people, real experiences, and real emotions that remind us all of what it means to be human.